So, we finished the original Uncharted, and overall it's a pretty darn good game. But there was plenty of stuff to improve upon. Does the sequel succeed in doing this? Well, let's find out.
God, that theme is just epic! Okay, skipping straight to the plot, we start out with Drake on a bit of a train ride.
Can this train even be called third class? I mean, just look at the state of the world.
Luckily, him plausibly hangs on to it's Nathan Drake, whatever. Later in the game, he does this. So, I guess I'm cool. And we guide him out in one of the most epic tutorials of all friggin' time. So, after I hereby rename Nathan Spider Drake, we see him sometime earlier in a considerably less strenuous position. He meets up with a British buddy and a former girlfriend. Actually, let's get rid of the former part of the previous statement. They're off to break into a museum to get an artifact. Oh, that's nice. We aren't gonna find out what the train wreck was about for a good 4 or 5 hours, are we? Okay, I'll play along. Anyway, the story is just as great as the original, if not better. Don't worry, Elena's back also, which won't create any tension at all.
I'm sorry, am I sensing some history here?
Awkward.
The story was really compelling, start to finish, with a few pretty decent twists here and there, and was actually pretty funny a lot of the time. Gameplay-wise, it's more or less the same as before, but we got some new refinements. The platforming seems to have received the least amount of tweaking. Aside from a few new climbing moves and frequent raising of the height, you're still the awesome Spider Drake. Spider Drake does whatever. Shit! The camera's also much better. Puzzles are now bigger, and therefore more fun. They can more or less be seen as an extension of the platforming segments, but they require you to think hard and squint at the drawings in the journal. Yeah, my complaint about the handwriting and drawing skills is still present. Maybe it's because I have a standard def TV, but whatever, it's still annoying. Anyway, my biggest complaint would be the lack of puzzles, but they are more fulfilling, and therefore, I liked them.
Sure.
And now, we get into the shooting segments. Those who have seen my original Uncharted review know that they got really repetitive, and I didn't really like them after 5 hours of doing them over and over and over and over again. Does the sequel fix this?
Well, yeah. Well, fixed enough. It can still get tiring now and again, to the point where there are just still a few rooms of baddies that I hated fighting through. But I have to admit that there are a ton of additions that make this game much more fun. First, the first 2 chapters of this game are somewhat mellow. You only fire a gun maybe, I don't know, 5 times. Aside from the epic introduction we witnessed, there's also a really fun stealth level. Which reminds me, the stealth. It's not perfect. It's not even that refined, and the AI can be stupid. But it's still really fun, and trying to stealth your way through battles is a fun challenge, especially since it carries throughout the game. I also really like the ability to hang and shoot. Yes, I am well aware that you could do this in the original Uncharted, but here, you know what they do? They actually use it, which is nice. It actually gets really epic, hanging from a street sign and popping headshots at the same time. There are quite a few nice long breaks from shooting, particularly when you go climbing with this guy. In my opinion, this section came at exactly the right time. There are numerous epic scenes in this game. I don't really want to show you that many of them and spoil them, but your jaw will drop a number of times. Monsters are used more conservatively. There's only a few encounters with them, so they don't really get repetitive. They also manage to be much more intimidating. Finally, I touched on this before, but there are many more options when in a gunfight. There are often multiple floors for you to jump around in, and that's very recommended when the bad guys come in from all sides, accurate as hell grenades, a-blazing. And yes, all of these things added into the fray, the shooting is much more fun. It's still a little repetitive, especially towards the middle and end-ish, but the game still does manage to upright itself. And by the end, I was willing to forgive any boredom the second quarter and, I don't know, 7th, 8th of the game may have bestowed on me, especially since the final boss was awesome. And of course, the train level. Yeah, you are actually playing on a moving train. It's awesome. It's 30 minutes of non-stop. This is amazing. Graphically, I don't know. It's 2 years old, and I guess for the time it looks... Oh, who am I kidding? They're absolutely incredible. Not that you haven't already heard that, but everything looks so realistic and lifelike. Especially the snow. It tops the original, no doubt. Look at that. Footprints in the snow that look incredible. Just something I thought I'd mention. The music is flat out awesome. There's plenty of memorable tracks, especially the main theme. Is the game perfect? No! The game drags on at a few spots. As I said earlier, the second quarter of the game feels slow, with a nice set piece, but otherwise slow. Thanks to all the third-person shooting, which, again guys, gets repetitive. Also, once you get into the last parts of the game leading up to the finale, the firefights get really freaking tiresome. I also found there to be little to come back to. What's that you say? What about the multiplayer? Sorry, couldn't get a game even with my internet connection. I guess nobody's playing it anymore because of... Oh yeah, Uncharted 3. I'll save my opinion of the multiplayer when I get to Uncharted 3. Look, I'm sure it was great, but I can't use it, so it doesn't add value to the game for me. Sorry. And I saw some annoying difficulty spikes, which I usually don't count against the game, and it's not as bad as the first Uncharted, like I said, but... okay. How about this? The train level got pretty hard, especially when fighting this guy. I didn't have a problem with that, though, because the level was so fun, and it helps that the enemies didn't come from all sides due to the obvious linearity of the train. Compare this to this generic gaping room that gave me 15 enemies coming in all sides. Anger. I also came across a glitch, and no, I'm not counting this against the game. It's actually kind of funny. Except I had almost beaten this hard as nails room in which it happened, when I was forced to restart my PS3. Anyway, I was trying to take cover, and I guess I was in the exact middle of these two pillars, and the game just flipped out, because it didn't know which one I should take cover behind. Kind of funny, I have to admit. Also, finally, there's a bit of overhype with this game. This is not the greatest single-player campaign I've ever played, which is literally what XPlay said to describe this game. Of course, I mean, they're welcome to their opinions, but I very much disagree. My final verdict? Awesome. It's not the greatest game ever, but I still really loved it. Now that the multiplayer is a ghost town, I found little replay value, and I still did get tired of the shooting at a lot of parts. The campaign is longer, and there are some parts like the train section that are definitely worth replaying. Awesome story, fantastic, impeccable presentation, epic moments, and overall fun gameplay makes it a must-have for anybody with a PS3. I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Down she goes!
By the way, I just learned IGN only scores in increments of 0.5 now.
Which means I'm not the only one Ortiz ripoff! Yeah!
Whatever, point is, not the second coming of Jesus, guys, but as a whole, an experience worth having.
Don't you assholes see the helicopter?
Now, I think we all know what's coming next. Batman Arkham Asylum? Well, yeah, I figured before we get on to the last of the trilogy, let's see if Uncharted 2 really did deserve that Game of the Year award.